You are Locked On Marlins POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Fish fans? Another tough one tonight as the Marlins drop another one, this time to open a homestand against the Washington Nationals. I hope you're all having a great night. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. This is your Locked On Marlins POSTCAST right here on your Locked On Sports Miami YouTube, right here wherever you get your podcasts. And we're talking Spotify, we're talking iHeart, we're talking Apple Music, we are talking anywhere on God's green earth where you get your podcasts. You'll get us right there. And we just want to thank you, right, for making Locked On Marlins POSTCAST, and all of our Miami content, making it your first listen every single day, right? We're free. We're available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And while I'm on that subject, tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Who doesn't love FanDuel, right? Make every moment more. Also make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. You're a winner. Marlins dinner. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. That's LOCKEDON to get started. And a great weekend on the way here for you with the Heat in Boston against the Celtics tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss our show after that game, our Locked On Heat POSTCAST right here as well. It's going to be a lot of fun with the Heat taking on Boston. And, of course, the Marlins opening up a 4-game series tonight at home against the Washington Nationals. If you know anything about the Washington Nationals and the Florida/Miami Marlins, I'm always going to do that, guys. Sorry. See that jersey way up there? My name's on the back of it. Cover the Marlins for you. I sometimes do. I still sometimes say Florida Marlins. But the Miami Marlins and the Washington Nationals. Think about what the Marlins have done to the Nationals in recent history, right? It's a bludgeoning, the likes of which are not seen in Major League Baseball all that often, have one team dominate another the way that the Marlins have the Nationals. They're 26-6 against Washington since 2022. They're averaging 4.91 runs per game. Well, they're not anymore. They were coming into tonight. Their starters had an ERA of 2.39. Their bullpen ERA was 2.84. And the run differential was 6 runs per plus 60 run differential in those 32 games. Not tonight, my friends. The Marlins dropped the opener of this series 3-1 to the Nats. They've lost 4 in a row and 7 out of 9. I mean, it's getting to that point where it is just misery right now for the Florida Marlins. I mean, it is absolute misery. They've lost 4 in a row. Let me try that again, looking right at you. They've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 7 of 9. Remember when they actually took 2 out of 3 from Atlanta? No, of course you don't. I do. It was 13 games ago. They won 2 out of 3, maybe a little momentum right after that early season debacle. Not so much. They've lost 9 out of 12 since then. They haven't had any luck with injuries. We'll get into that, as we go here on the show. It's the first of a 7-game homestand tonight. It just did not go well for them. And you would think that I'm kind of proud of myself with that title, right? Natural cure, meaning like the cure for their offensive woes could be playing the Nats, who hit like gnats against the Marlins most of the time. And that wasn't the issue tonight. It's just the Marlins aren't hitting anything lately. I mean, they have literally scored 3 runs or more. And 3 runs or more only 8 times this season in 27 games. You're 6-21. Thank God for the Chicago White Sox, who have won 3 games, because now the Rockies and the Astros have both won more games than the Marlins. And would it not? Pete, let me just start that over. If it weren't for the Houston Astros, the Marlins might be the biggest disappointment in baseball this year. They made the playoffs a year ago. They had a huge start to the year from Arias, and people thought he was going to hit 400, or De La Cruz last year. And you know what I mean? Like, it's people thought that the Marlins were going to come into this year, and they're under for wins, I think, was 77.5 coming in, and now it's 68 after tonight. And it's just been a tough go. I mean, they got the Rockies coming up next, 3 more games against the Nationals. If you're going to get right and get this thing moving in the right direction, these are the teams. You own Washington. You own them over the last few years. And then the Rockies are coming in. They got 7 wins on the season. So you've got a lot of things that you can do if you're the Marlins, to get things going offensively. I know Berger's still out, and he still leads the team with RBIs, and he's been out for, 2 weeks just about? So anyone, Bueller, anyone, has to step up for the Marlins, and they just have not gotten that production right now. They haven't had anybody stepping up. They're just not hitting anything. They're literally not hitting anything, and they're not even making the right plays. I want to get into some specifics on this show tonight. I'm watching the game, and I don't know why nobody in that broadcast booth is questioning why Nick Fortes is halfway to the pitcher's mound catching that throw at the plate in the 8th inning. And why is he turning all the way to his right and pirouetting all the way around? It was a terrible job of him getting way out there, a terrible way of trying to apply the tag. All he had to do was wait for the throw. It was right there. It was right there, and he was out. I'm going to talk about more things like that because in those moments, they're not making the right plays. It's one thing to not hit the ball. Eventually, you keep swinging the bats. Eventually, they'll get going. Maybe you fire a hitting coach, here or there, but it didn't end up happening tonight for the Marlins, and it's been all too familiar. We're going to get into the pitching more in just a minute, but this is an offensive offense. It's offensive. It's not offensive. It's offensive. And, Calvin Fauché lost the game, but the Marlins had the lead early tonight. They had a 1-run lead. They got a bloop single from Nick Fortes to give themselves a 1-0 lead in the 3rd inning. Of course, it's a bloop single, but it found its way. It dropped. Right? So they had the lead, and they had the lead until the 6th inning when Joey Meneses hit into a double play, and then he had a 2-run single in the 8th. But really, when you think about the Marlins, right, they got 1 run in the 3rd. And I'm going to take you back a little bit here with this team, okay? Because as I look at this team, they did score 3 runs against the Cubs in the series finale, but they scored 3 runs in their last 3 games of the Braves series. This team has scored 4 runs in 4 games. 4 runs in 4 games. They're just anemic right now offensively, and it's going from bad to worse. They were scoring 3 runs a game too, and that now it's 1 run tonight, and they've really got to get things going. And look, the Braves are 17-6. They're killing it right now, but Washington's a team that's 3 games under 500, 4 games under 500 before tonight. And you just can't be losing the way that they lost to a team like this. You just can't be losing a game like this when you have and I don't even want to say they had opportunities in this one because this wasn't a game where they left a lot of guys on base. They did have 8 hits, but I'll give you the recap real quick. Joey Meneses, and then we'll hit the first break. Joey Meneses with a tie-breaking 2-run single in the 8th inning. Told you about that already. Why was Nick Fortes halfway to the mound fielding the throw? We will get to that momentarily. Jacob Young, Trey Lipscomb, a couple of hits apiece. Derek Law started the game on the hill for the Nats. He's 1-1 now, struck out 5 over 2 scoreless innings of relief. That was scoreless innings of relief, rather. Sorry about that. For Derek Law picking up the win tonight for the Nats. And if you missed it, the Marlins didn't have starter Jesus Luzardo tonight. Elbow pain. He was a scratch, right? This dude, 178 2/3 innings pitched last year. His previous high was 100 1/3. And he's 0-2 with a 6.58 ERA this year, shutting down, maybe, possibly, at least missing the start tonight because of the elbow soreness, right? And this is a common theme with the Marlins this year. Injuries to the pitchers, right? The pitching staff been struggling. A.J. Puck just went on the injured list right now, right? Sandy Alcantara is already out. Yuri Perez already out. And Braxton Garrett already out. Those guys combined with Luzardo to throw 47% of the Marlins innings pitched last year. And these guys are all out right now. So the arms have been keeping you in games. The pitching hasn't been bad, especially recently. It's been pretty good. And you get Edward Cabrera back on the mound tomorrow, and you hope that he can get another win. He won last time out. He's the last Marlins pitcher to get a win. And he did it in Chicago against the Cubs, where they only won 1 game on that road trip. 1 in Chicago and 1 game in Chicago, and then swept in Atlanta. So a really bad time of the year for the Marlins right now. Anthony Maldonado, maybe a lone bright spot there. Maldonado comes up from AAA, 3 scoreless innings in his major league debut. He's a closer in the minors, hadn't started a game since college. And isn't that something? At Bethune-Cookman University, also in Florida. But Luzardo had tightness in his left elbow, so Maldonado comes up, right? AAA Jacksonville. It's a 5-hour trip to Miami. 45 minutes on a plane. What am I saying? 15-day injured list, Luzardo. So, but Maldonado allowed 3 hits and struck out 2 in 3 innings, and it was by committee from there for the Marlins. And one other thing I wanted to mention, I mean, Vidal Brujan had a couple of hits tonight. Nick Gordon's thrown out at the plate as Brujan singled to center field, and he tried to score from first on a bobble. And Luis Garcia's relay throw threw him out at the dish, but to try to score from first on a bobble ball, he was out by a mile. Nick Gordon was out by a mile, man. And you know what? It was an absolute terrible play, a terrible base running play. And these are the kinds of things they just keep doing. They just keep doing these things, and they're not hitting on top of it. And then you're running yourself into outs. I mean, Arias ran himself, and they had 2 singles and a double to start an inning the other day in Chicago. They didn't score because Arias ran him out of an inning. And tonight it's Gordon. So these things just keep happening, and it's not good for the Miami Marlins. You are listening to Locked On Marlins Postcast. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. I want to thank you for being here. Really enjoy doing this for you night in and night out after every single Marlins game all year long. Also the Heat, also the Dolphins during football season, and the U, baby, the University of Miami, my alma mater. Can't wait for this football season, and Mario Cristobal's team will have that postcast for you as well. My name's Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Going to take a quick break, step aside and pay a bill or two, but I'm not stepping aside. The show is. But when we get it going again here on your Locked On Marlins postcast, we will get into some more of the things that have been happening with the Marlins that have just been just kind of scratching your head, like Fortes being way out towards second base as the catcher, fielding a throw at home and a really good throw at that, and then running themselves out of innings and just wasting good pitching and pitchers being hurt, and just one of those years for the Marlins where things have just been absolutely terrible. We'll talk about some more of those things when we continue with your Locked On Marlins postcast. But first, Mother's Day is coming up. It's Mother's Day. My mother gets here tomorrow from Connecticut. How about that? My son's college graduation. My mother's going to be here for 2 weeks. She leaves the day before Mother's Day. I don't know what that says about our relationship, but my siblings will have her back in Connecticut for that day. I will have her here, but I can take advantage, man. I don't know about you guys. I'm door dashing all the time. I mean, it is an unbelievable feeling to just sit there and go, doot, 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 doot. Come on, baby, bring it over, right? Well, why not do that for Mother's Day? Want to make your mom smile? Start Mother's Day with flowers, surprise her with gifts from the brand she loves, delivered the very same day from DoorDash. Moms are a gift, so give her the best this Mother's Day. Gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech to self-care essentials and more, delivered right to her door. Not to mention all those desserts you can just get from all over the place. For her, it's never too late to show mom you love her this Mother's Day with DoorDash, and you can do it very easily by downloading the app. Get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place, right? 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Again, LOCKEDONMLB is the code. You get 50% off of $15 when you spend $15 or more on DoorDash for Mother's Day. DoorDash making Mother's Day special for your mom this holiday season. And yes, I consider Mother's Day to be a holiday season. And who doesn't love DoorDash, right? I mean, you're just sitting there watching the Marlins game, right? You know they're not going to score. I know. It's just, man, it gets a little, I look a little dark here. I have the lights shining in my face, like an interrogation. I feel like I was at Guantanamo Bay getting waterboarded. I probably shouldn't say that. But no, I mean, the lights are just, and it looks a little dark on the screen. But I hope you guys are enjoying tonight. You know, it's tough for the Marlins right now when you're in. It's a long season, right? And you're gonna have your ups, you're gonna have your downs, you're gonna have your streaks. But the Marlins are playing themselves into a miserable summer right now. Quietly, Luis Arias' average is rising. He's at 291, and De La Cruz is starting to hit a little bit better. You're gonna get Berger back, you hope, soon. What's the latest on Berger? Let me check this out for you. 6-21, last in the East. I told you about AJ Puck. This is shoulder fatigue. He's been playing catch, but he's on the 15-day injured list. Jake Berger is on the 10-day injured list. He's got that oblique injury. He's going to go through a full on-field workout. I'm supposed to do that today, and I haven't seen anything on that. So maybe Berger will be back in the lineup here soon. They really need him. Again, Luzardo just went on the 15-day IL as well, was supposed to pitch tonight. Anthony Maldonado came up from AAA to take that start for him. Braxton Garrett still out with the shoulder. Josh Simpson's on the 60-day. I mean, you name it. Yuri Perez on the 60-day. Alcantara on the 60-day. It just, oh, man, what a year so far for the Marlins. And I told you in this segment when we came back, I was going to look at some of the other things that offensive, you see that highlight right there, the offense has been. And Berger's a big part of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to get too carried away with Jake Berger here, but I will say this. Okay, I will say this about Jake Berger. This dude is still leading the Marlins in RBIs with 15. Still leading the Marlins in RBIs with that big, bruising first baseman in the middle lineup. And you have a Rice now with 32 hits, that on-base percentage going up, that average going up, De La Cruz in that 2-hole. You get Berger back in this lineup, that's going to make a big difference. Obviously, you need his bat in there, and that's going to help in a big, big way when you get him back. So I definitely don't want to, minimize his impact and the things that he's able to do for this team. And how crazy is it to see Ryan Weathers pitching for the Marlins, by the way, and Brian Harvey's kid pitching for the Nationals, the Marlins' first closer, an all-star with 45 saves in 1993, Brian Harvey. And is out there tonight. But when your ERA leader's at 4.10, which is Trevor Rogers, you have that many guys, 40% of your innings pitched from a year ago, on the disabled list right now, and you're just hoping for anything. And Edward Cabrera could be that guy, man. He's got huge upside, and we'll talk about that in the last segment of the show. He's got huge upside, and he's got a lot of potential. He won last time out in Chicago against the Cubs, and he's one of the only pitchers to win a game for the Marlins this season. He's 1-0. And we'll talk about that game, when we get a little bit closer to the end of the show. And I think that let me check something out here real quick, guys. I'm really enjoying bringing you all this Marlins talk in the postcast night in and night out. Don't forget Locked On Marlins as well. You don't want to miss that channel. All right, so here we are. Bear with me, guys. And we got right here. Where are we? There we go. And man, how about the Lakers down 3-0 to the Nuggets? Wrong sport, I know, but is there a wrong sport? The Heat and the Celtics tomorrow. By the way, the Heat postcast. It's a 6 p.m. Eastern start tomorrow, and the postcast will be on right after that. And the Heat are playing at home against the Marlins. Okay, there we are, live now. How about that? Ain't nothing wrong with that. So the Marlins, I just had a couple things I wanted to talk about with the Marlins, right? I mean, first of all, the run that scored tonight came in on a bloop single from Fortes, and I've talked about that a little bit on the show already. And a run's a run, a ribby's a ribby. It's going to happen. It's going to even out. You're going to hit balls hard that end up being outs. You're going to hit bloopers that end up being hits. But they've lost 4 in a row, 7 of their last 9 of their last 12. They've scored 3 runs or more in only 8 of their 26 games this season. In their last, and let's take a deeper look at this right now, okay? Because this is something that really, this is something that's going to bug you, and it should bug you, right? Because you look at the Marlins right now, their last few games, and they scored 3 runs on what day was that? Sunday, their last game against the Cubs. So they scored 3 there. But a quality start for a starter in Major League Baseball is 6 innings pitched with 3 runs or less. Anytime you hold a team to 3 runs or less, as a pitching staff, you're doing your jobs, and it seems like it happens just about every night to the Marlins this year. Every single time out, it seems like it. Obviously, it's not the case, but losing those games at Chicago 8-3, 5-3, they won a 3-2 in the middle there. They won 6-3 in the series finale, which was a good one for them in extra innings, right? I believe that was the 10-inning game. We didn't do a show that day because of the Heat and Celtics, but shut out back-to-back at Atlanta to open that series, lose 4-3 and 10 and 3-1 tonight. So they've scored, and again, they've literally scored 4 runs in 4 games, and 3 of them were in 1 game. So you take those 2 games in Atlanta and then the one tonight, the third one in Atlanta notwithstanding, that's 3 of their 4 games in which they've either been shut out or scored 1 run. And that 1 run tonight, as I mentioned, was on a bloop hit. So, I don't want to get too crazy with the numbers here. And, obviously no one cares about that overall if you just keep doing that. But, they're just not capitalizing. The numbers are one thing. The Marlins in the bottom of the first, right? I mean, you get a leadoff walk from Arias. He's getting on base. He's hitting the ball well. De La Cruz grounds out to a fielder's choice. Chisholm Jr. fouls out. Would like to have that one back, and then Bell strikes out. But the Marlins, bottom of the second, double play. They get a leadoff single from Sanchez. Anderson lines into a double play, right to first. And that was a hard hit ball, but what can you do? Again, leadoff guy gets on in the first, you hit into a fielder's choice. Leadoff guy gets on in the second, you hit into a double play. Bottom of the third comes, Brujan singles, goes to second on a disengagement violation, which was crazy, right? And then Fortes singles to right on a blooper, and Brujan scores. And then, you got De La Cruz walking after Arias flies out to left field. Fortes goes to second, and then Chisholm Jr. and Bell can't get him home. So a runner on second, 2 guys with a chance to get him home. They don't do it. They go 1, 2, 3 in the 6th, right? In the 5th. And then in the 6th inning, same thing. Strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Swinging, looking, swinging. Law strikes out the side. He struck out 5 in 2 innings tonight for the Nats. A lot of strikeouts for Washington. And then you get a 1-out single from Gordon in the 7th. Nothing. And then, of course, the Nationals score 2 in the 8th. I'll get to that, more on that in a minute. The Marlins go 1, 2, 3 in the 8th and 1, 2, 3 in the 9th. But in that 3rd inning for the Marlins, right? Where did it go? Where am I here? Where are we at here? I'm just looking for something real quick, guys, from the and we're going to take a quick break and then come back and wrap it up in just a second. Why don't I do that? And then I'll look for that on the other side. We'll look at tomorrow's game. We'll look at Edward Cabrera's chances to get things going for the Marlins again. He's the guy you want pitching right now, without a doubt. I was just looking for the play where where they got thrown out at the plate. Anyway, that's something that's real tough for them too. But they're just not making the plays right now. They're not hitting at all. And they wasted another solid outing tonight from Maldonado, and then their bullpen picked it up behind them. And, they did a couple of things base running wise, a couple of things defensively, and the White Sox won tonight. So they're at 4 wins, only a couple of wins below the Marlins now. And so that's a tough one too, because the Marlins are only above the White Sox for the worst record in baseball. They're a game behind Houston and Colorado, who each have 7 wins, at least in the win column they are. And it's unfortunate for the Marlins, to say the least. We're going to wrap it up on the other side. It's your Locked On Marlins postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Miami YouTube channel. It's your Locked On Marlins postcast right here, audio version, wherever you get your podcast, whether you found us on Spotify, whether you found us on iHeart or Apple Music. I almost said iTunes. Apple Music, wherever you find us on your audio podcast as well. I want to thank you for being here and keeping yourself locked on your favorite team every day with the Locked On Sports Network. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, here after every single Marlins game. They need to turn this around, because we don't want to have this be like a funeral procession every single night. Get the police escort for the Marlins 2024 season as they end it in a, I don't even want to think about that right now at all, because that would just not be good. But I'll tell you what is good, and I'll tell you what I love, and you guys do too, because numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie, and that is, my friends, FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA, in case you didn't know. If you don't know, now you know. And also the NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Look no further. Go nowhere else. exclusively, FanDuel is your spot because right now, new customers get $150. 150 buckaroos in bonus bets, guaranteed. I can't believe I just said buckaroos. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, easy to use. So what are you waiting for? FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Marlins Postcast your first listen every day. We're free. We're available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On Marlins, Locked On Heat, Locked On Dolphins, Locked On Canes. The Postcasts. I had someone on YouTube ask me a question a couple of days ago about, hey, where's my other Heat guy? And now you got both of us. And you the same for the Marlins and the Dolphins and the Canes during football season. You will have that as well. And one more thing I want to ask you before we get out of here. We're going to finish up the show. We got a couple minutes left, but I want to know if you're watching Fox Sports, ESPN, get a little screaming A action. There's people just screaming, shouting. You have to turn down the volume because of all that. I don't know. Maybe you just want something different, right? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every single day. I was just on it a couple of days ago. Thank you, Lord. Right away in the first week, they throw me on the national show. It's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also every day. Oh, man, this is too much fun, right? Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ on social media. It's your Locked On Marlins postcast on your Friday. You ain't got no job. You ain't got to do. Chris Tucker, come on. You guys know. 3-1. Nats beat the Marlins tonight. And look, the Marlins have dominated the Nationals over the last couple of years, but not tonight. At Lone Depot, and what a beautiful stadium that is on the site of the old Orange Bowl, the hallowed grounds in Miami, but it doesn't help the Marlins any. 10,000, a little bit over 10,000 was the listed attendance. I don't know if they counted everybody twice or 3 times or what they did, but it was a tough one. Man, you're not scoring runs. It's not an exciting brand of baseball. They're a young team. They're going to get Berger back. It's just a tough go. It's a playoff team a year ago, man. There's no way they should be starting like this. To me, it's pretty much inexcusable to be starting the season like this right now. And, you got tomorrow's game. You got Cabrera pitching for the Marlins, and I told you what I would do, looking ahead to that one. And it's definitely he's the guy you want on the mound right now. He's definitely the guy you want on the mound right now. And when you look at Cabrera, this dude has been good, right? He's been good. He's got electric stuff. And he's someone that you can count on when you run him out there. And he's been pitching good lately. And let's see, where are we at with that game right now? It's a 1:10 p.m. start. Actually, it's a 4:10 p.m. start. Why that's up there like that? But yeah, it's a 4:10 p.m. start. And the Nats the Marlins are favored -135 to -140 with Cabrera on the bump. He's 1-0 with a 3.27 ERA is Edward Cabrera. His whip is 1.45 in 11 innings. He's allowed 12 hits, struck out 17, walked only 4. Brings that heat, snaps off that breaking stuff, and you got to watch out for him. He's a good pitcher and a guy who the Marlins are going to depend on tomorrow to try to snap this streak, right? They've lost 4 in a row since the last time he pitched in Chicago, and they've lost 7 of 9 and 9 of 12. And so he's going to try to stem that tide tomorrow against Mitchell Parker. Parker's 2-0 with a 1.5 ERA. The whip is 0.58, 12 innings, 12 Ks, no walks. He's allowed 7 hits. And, obviously you got Abrams and Garcia, and Meneses is hot right now, drove in all 3 runs for the Nats tonight. But Arraez is starting to swing it for the Marlins, and De La Cruz as well. Berger did the workout today, guys. Things might be starting to turn a little bit for your Miami Marlins moving forward. And I think that's going to be a good thing for them because they obviously need it. And I think the offense is going to get going. I really do. I don't think you have too much to panic about just yet, but, come back here every day, and after the games, we'll wrap them up for you, and we'll let you know what you're missing. You don't have to watch the whole game. You come here, you get a whole recap. You get the knowledge, you get the wisdom, you get all those things we hope that we gave you tonight with your Locked On Marlins postcast. I'm Jim Greasehaber, calling the grease. Before I get out of here, I want to remind you again that tomorrow, right, 4:10 Eastern, first pitch, so about 7:30-ish, we'll be on with the postcasts, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So it's going to be a great, great day tomorrow. And I do believe this weekend with the Nats in town, that'll be just the cure the Marlins need to get those bats going. Before I get out of here, I want to remind you that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on the Amazon Fire TV app for free. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's all there is, Fish fans. There is no more. That's for you, Mad Dog. I'm going to do that here once in a while on the shows. Jim Mandich, a big part of my career and a mentor to me, and a legend on the airwaves of South Florida, to say the least, in the Mad Dog, Jim Mandich. So that's all there is, Fish fans. There is no more. The Marlins lose 3-1 tonight. Series opener against the Nationals. First of 4 against the Nats. First of 7 at home with the Rockies coming in on the heels early next week. We'll be back tomorrow after the 4:10 first pitch scheduled game between these two teams. Cabrera pitching for the Marlins, trying to get this thing back on track. We'll talk to you right after the game tomorrow. Until then, Marlins fans, keep your game tight and your mind right. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. And I will see you tomorrow right here, Locked On Sports Miami, with your Locked On Marlins postcast, the MIA.